Okay, so in this video I'm going to try to go through all of the major progressions of the chin-up. So first of all, what is chin-up? Chin-up is a vertical pull pattern where I have my hands supinated or facing towards me. Okay, making sure I always have a nice strong grip. There are a couple of preferences. You can go wider. I personally like to feel much stronger if I go closer with my hands. First of all, grip is super important, strong grip. I'm kind of touching my thumb towards my index finger. I wrap it around the bar. If you have chalk, even better. I start from dead hang, so feet off the floor, arms are straight. I look towards the bar. I engage the shoulders. I pull the bar downwards, bringing the chest above the bar, chin off the bar, slowly with control, lowering down. So one more time, looking up, slowly lowering down. Always aiming for full range of motion. On the rings, it's basically the same thing, but now I have ability to kind of lower the height as much as I need to, and also to rotate the rings, which is a bit nicer and kind of easier sometimes on the wrists and forearms. So I start again from that hang. I look up, I twist towards me all the way up until the rings touch my chest, and go down. Look up, slowly go down. Okay, so grip is super important. So if you have a bar that's a bit slippery, or even with the rings, use a little bit of chalk, especially if you have sweaty hands, because it's going to really help like 15-20% your pulling strength. So there are a couple of preferences depending on your anatomy, and I always recommend people to explore based on their preferences. My personal grip is hands shoulder width, or maybe slightly closer, thumbs kind of touching the index finger. Okay. And as soon as you start to see people losing kind of the strength in their pull, it's due, one of the first things that they lose is the grip. So really making sure you have strong grip, really squeezing the bar, as opposed to kind of holding like this, or even thumbs like this. Find a bit uncomfortable on the wrist and the thumbs. Going a bit wider, maybe for you can feel comfortable. I personally think it's a bit uncomfortable for me, but again, it all depends on your preferences. Okay, so very first portion of the pull-up or chin-up is that passive hang, from which you drive your shoulders down, engaging the lats, upper back, squeezing the bar, and initiating the pull, okay, going upwards. So just gonna jump so you can get into position. So as you can see, I always prefer kind of hands shoulder width, or maybe even slightly more narrow. So from here, I always try to look up, just because I find it quite helpful. And you can just pull, keeping your arms straight, try to engage your shoulders from this passive hang into active hang. I have a little bit of arch as well. Engage my glutes. Pausing for a second or two, and then relax. Okay, you can easily do it in a pronated grip, quite useful as well, regardless of if you're working on the chin-up. So from here, it might feel more natural actually. I'm thinking of breaking the bar in half, keeping my arms straight, lifting my chest up, squeezing my shoulder blades together, pausing for a second, and relaxing. If the floor is closer, you can bend your knees. I like to have my heels together. And then relax. So why do we do that mini kind of shrug? So rather than just going up and down, which is entirely fine, okay, with the passive active hang, why do we do this mini shrug and arch backwards? Because when you observe the chin up, you're not just going directly up. There is a little bit of arc. As you initiate the pull, you go backwards, and then you pull towards the bar. So look towards the bar. So as you do this, regardless of the rings or bar, you want to really make sure at the top you have this motion of elbows going back, gripping the bar, squeezing. Your biceps are going to be engaged, and also squeezing the upper back. So driving the elbows back into extension, okay, which is kind of going to happen naturally as opposed to shrug. So it's going to look like this, or from this angle like this at the top. Making sure you always go down with control, not collapsing. So in order to strengthen the top part of the chin-up, it's really useful to actually spend a little bit more time in that position. So top of the chin-up hold, I'm going to demonstrate here on the rings. So gripping the rings, starting again, need to calculate depending on your height, depending on your setup, what's the optimal. So you have a little bit of support to your feet, just tiny bit, twist a neutral grip, supinated grip, whichever you prefer. And you're just gonna hold in that position, keeping that tension in your grip, biceps, upper back, okay? Making sure you start with less support, eventually less support, and eventually no support at all, okay? Easily done also on the bar. So the next one will be feet supported chin-up. So setup is important here, so not everyone will be able to have lower bar. So for this one, rings are really useful because it can really be helpful. Or you can put the chair and on your feet, just make sure it's proper height. So it allows you full range of motion to fully straighten your arms. So again, my hips need to be roughly under the bar. You're gonna go up to, it's gonna be very subjective how much support to your feet you have. So from this particular case, I'm gonna go with my heels off the floor so I have less support. So making sure I start from here. Let's say this is my position, I look up, I pull, and really being mindful to use all the same muscles. Gripping the bar, upper back engaged, biceps, having as little or as much support through your feet as you need. Always working on the full range of motion. And again, using gymnastic rings can be a superior method here because you can easily regress the height. So I start from this position, again, hip position important, don't be super far forward, super far back. So I'm directly underneath, almost like I'm trying to do this squat with arms above. So I look up, I twist in, slowly go down, pull up, slowly go down, okay? Once you get comfortable with this, you can even play with up, one foot, other foot, slowly with control going down. So one more time. So up with support, one foot, other foot, slowly down with support, without support. So next progression will be chin up negative, which is a great way, especially if you can do it super slowly, anything from 6 to 10 seconds. Great way to build up strength, just using that kind of gravity assisted motion as you're still resisting the gravity and slowly lowering down. I really prefer doing this one from the step, so you start at the top rather than jumping. Jumping is fine if you have certain level of control, just so you can stop swinging yourself forwards, backwards. You want to keep your core engaged. So if I'm doing from here, as I need to jump, I'm just going to demonstrate. So looking towards the bar, gripping the bar, engaging my arms, driving downwards. I hop, I pause, and then slowly going down. Even better if you can pause midpoint, slowly lowering down, straighten your arms fully, and then step down. Common mistake, people just kind of either collapse or place their feet down on the floor before fully extending the elbows. So just be mindful of that. So the next most common progression will be using the resistance band, and this is where people make a lot of mistakes. So first of all, you need to find a band that suits your level. So usually thick green band is going to give you the most assistance, then purple, then black, then red ones, and then you can easily progress from week to week. So I'm a big fan of using both bands and eccentric and feet supported chin-ups as opposed to just bands, because quite often people just rely on the band thinking it's just going to magically help them to go up. So I'm going to use this red band. So first of all, put the band, step with one foot, grip the bar, step with both feet. I like that approach. My legs are going to be, obviously because I'm slightly lower, slightly underneath. So I look up, I pull down, with control going down. So try to have still same level of control. Even better if you can pause for a second and slowing down a little bit more as you go down. And really try to avoid legs going too far forwards, which can be quite often the case. If you have heavier band, it can pull your legs forward. So just have a little bit of engagement here to stabilize the legs. Another intermediate progression, which I really like, and don't see quite often used that much, is actually doing partial reps. So once you're getting really strong with and comfortable with negatives, and your kind of first part of the chin up is relatively strong. You can start from kind of halfway or maybe anything in between. So you grip the bar, making sure your hips are kind of underneath. So I like to start kind of 90-degree elbow flexion, so from here or slightly lower. So grip the bar, engage the upper back, drive downwards. Look towards the bar, go on your toes, really resist the urge of jumping. So from here, basically, you want to pull, top position, and then slowly, slowly down. And then you pause, shake, 20, 30, 40 seconds even, and again. So don't jump, pull from here, slowly down. Really great progression to gradually bridge that gap towards full chin up. You can then, how would you progress? You would just start to go from here, so elbows less, or should I say more and more extended, more open, until you can start from dead hang position.